Good morning, Jim Laird, Johnny live from Dirioma, Nicaragua. It's a beautiful day today, nice and fresh, or fresco, they would say here in Nicaragua. Fresco. It's very windy, so hopefully that won't interfere with the audio. StreamYard's pretty good at blocking off background noise. So, fun topic today: breaking the cycle. Why habits are hard to overcome. And honestly, in my career, what I can tell you, the number one thing I've learned over the years is that as a coach, you're going to be repeating a lot of the same things over and over again, because once people get into this like habit loop, they get into a habit loop. It's almost impossible, particularly with modern life. I talk a lot about sleep deprivation, broken circadian rhythm. Really, our modern world sets us up to be this complacent, compliant consumer. Whether this happened by accident or whether it's by design, we can argue about that. Of course, there's going to be people on both sides of the aisle, but really, when you live in a society that's based on consuming more, there's tons of incentives for people to get you in a loop where you just keep buying stuff and eating more and buying more and eating more. And this loop is really, really hard to break free from. And, that's one of the reasons, like over the last 3 years, I worked in a medical practice. And the thing that I did was bring in coaching into a medical practice because, people need to hear what they need to do over and over again. And then they need community to support them to make these changes. And then they need to make small habit changes to kind of make it stick. And part of the problem is because people's circadian rhythms are broken. Most people are sleep deprived. Most people are in this highly stressed state. They can't break free from these habits and from this like comfort eating and medicating oneself. So we have to get people healthy in order to they can make better choices consistently and over time. And that doesn't mean we don't use some tools to get them there faster, but habit change, lifestyle change, fixing people's circadian rhythm, that has to be the base of things, or people are just going to fail. Like in the medical practice, how many people I saw that were on HRT, they were on peptides, they were taking every single supplement under the book, and they had some positive change from that, but it didn't last and it didn't stick, and it wasn't, they felt great for a while, and all of a sudden everything fell apart because they didn't change their habits. So let's get into like a little bit of a case study here. This is a podcast I did years ago on Body IO FM. Used to be Kiefer, author of Carb Night. And I used to do I'm going to share my screen. And this is that's StreamYard. We don't want to do that. So this is Rachel, and I've talked about Rachel a bunch. Let me make sure that I put it on here. Okay. So this is, you can still go to the website. It's still there. And the interview, you have to go to SoundCloud, I believe it is. SoundCloud, the interview is actually still there. And this is a really fascinating interview that kind of like hammers it home. This is her before and after, which is insane. On the left here, she was 3 years of 3 to 4 times a week, 5 a.m. boot camp. The last 6 to 8 months, she was doing twice a day, and she weighed 160, gaining weight. And then the right pick is after 3 years of strength training, 3 times a week, 4 powerlifting meets, lifestyle change, making sleep and getting outside a priority, stress management, nutrition, weight 135, and deadlift 303, bench 126, squat 220. So look at the difference between the two, and look at how long she did 3 years of 3 to 4 times a week and 5 a.m. boot camps. She suffered through that for 3 years before she finally hit the wall and decided she needed to do something else. And the reason I would encourage you to go to SoundCloud and listen to this is it's a really fascinating interview where she talks about all the mental gymnastics that she had to go through in order to, let me show you where SoundCloud is here. I'll put all these links in the description, but it's a really fascinating interview because she goes through all the mental gymnastics she had to go through in order to break. This is the interview on SoundCloud. So I would suggest, going and checking that out, because it's a really fascinating conversation. And a big part of her ability to change was me basically telling her over and over again that she needed self-care, and listening to her talk about how hard it was for her to break out of that loop of training more, training harder, sleep deprivation. And then she finally started doing less, and she started doubting. And then, of course, the other girls in the group, I had a big group of ladies, and they're like, I know it sounds insane, but doing less and taking care of yourself and slowing down is really the solution. So when she would kind of fall to the side, they'd be there to remind her. I'd be there to remind her. She looked at what a lot of the other ladies looked like. A lot of them would tell them their stories. So having a supportive group, that's one of the reasons I started Vitality Sisterhood, Vitality Brotherhood, my groups, because people need support and they need to hear this stuff over and over again. It's like a pro sports team. You've got people that are professional athletes, and they have to have somebody come and remind them and coach them to basically do what they're supposed to do. If they're left to their own devices, they're going to cut corners. There's a few people that won't, like a guy like Peyton Manning or Tom Brady will actually become the coach themselves and call people out. But most people are just going to cut corners. They're going to take shortcuts. So having somebody there to constantly remind you until you can become more self-aware and until you can build a new series of habits by rebuilding these neural pathways. Because once you've done things for a certain period of time, it gets ingrained in your brain and it almost becomes automatic. So you have to replace that. And a lot of people start with too many things. So that would be a fascinating audio for you to go listen to, so you can kind of get an idea how hard it is, the mental gymnastics that people go through. And I saw this in the medical practice as well. These are really smart people, highly driven people. Even myself, it took me literally destroying my health before I made some changes. So, if you are in a really bad place, the number one thing I think you have to do is fix your sleep and your circadian rhythm. Because without circadian rhythm, like your circadian rhythm, the sun runs your hormones. It helps like control blood sugar. It literally runs, every cell in your body is run by the light you live under. And people don't talk about that, So your hormones, your digestion, everything is run by the sun. So you need to, the human body is really resilient. How much sun you're going to need and how much you need to change your life is going to be on a case-by-case basis. But the more natural light you get, the more you can get outside, the easier it's going to be for you to make dramatic changes to your life. Okay? Because that's really, your sleep is the foundation of your health. And if you're not sleeping, you're not going to make as good of decisions. You're going to be like on autopilot. You're going to become a human vacuum cleaner. So the 5 fundamental habits are really the key. Walk outside 3 times a day for 10 minutes. Get the lights off at night. Eat a protein at every meal. Drink high quality water, preferably spring water, and have social connection. Those 5 are the foundation of everything. You don't need to start with all 5 at once. You might just start with getting outside 3 times a day and doing that consistently, or adding a protein. And that's where, talking to you and seeing your situation, that's where the nuance of this stuff comes into. But starting small and doing things that you can repeatedly do over time is really the key to long-term success. And it's not sexy. It's not fancy. I know. And a lot of times I honestly get frustrated sometimes talking about the same things over and over again, but this is what people need. Like, I literally had people, that I trained for 20 years, and I'd be having the same conversation with them over and over again. And then later on down the road, I'd be like, I'd interview them or talk to them, and they'd be like, you know what? I just love the fact that you reminded me of these basic things over and over and over again when I'd get off track. So essentially, that's what it's all about. Okay, is sticking to the basics consistently over time. And then that doesn't mean you can't add a few tools or things like that. Once you have your house built, you can go get some, fancy windows, or you can go, add some things from time to time. But most people are using tools to try to fix a foundational problem. And that just doesn't end well for most people. So there you go. If you want support, if you need a community to help support you through this process of changing your habits, come to Vitality Brotherhood, come to Vitality Sisterhood. I had to take a little break from the question and answer sessions that I did because of my schedule change, but I'm going to be starting those up again. Your groups are completely free. And of course, if you'd like my help, my individual help, either one-on-one or in a group setting, I do offer coaching. You can go to vitalitybrotherhood.com and click the coaching link and then set up a call with me. Or you can join the group and message me on school on the DM feature, and we can talk about if you're a good fit to work with me or not. And of course, this show is brought to you by Pharaoh, which is an incredible lard-based skin product. You can go to pharaoh.shop. You can use the code JIM15 to get 15% off and help support the show. I appreciate it. You can also support the show by going to the recommended products page on vitalitybrotherhood.com. You can actually access the Vitality Sisterhood from there as well. The dogs are about to go crazy because my housekeeper is just arriving. So I hope you have a wonderful day. And to sum this all up, it's not sexy. It's not exciting. Habits are hard to change. It's not easy. But if you start small and you start simple, and if you're consistent, and then if you surround yourself with people that are on the same page as you are, that are going to help keep you accountable, over time, you will be shocked if you build a foundation of health based on those 5 fundamentals, what a difference it'll make. And when you do decide to do peptides or supplements or HRT or any of these things to kind of enhance things a little bit, they're going to work so much better, and you won't have to take as many. It's going to be a lot more budget friendly. So have yourself a great day. Make sure you get outside. Love to hear your feedbacks in the comments. And let me see if there's any questions on Instagram. I see we have a few people watching. No questions. I need to come up with a consistent time for these lives so that I'm not just jumping on here when I can. But right now my schedule's a little sideways, so I just do it when I can. So have yourself a great day. If there's somebody out there who you think this would be helpful for, go ahead and share it with them. Take care.